If I wasn't doing a live feed, I'd edit that out, but little mishaps. I just want to drop a quick vid this morning dealing with the 2024 total solar eclipse and what seems to be like a cult following, folks, of this eclipse. And what I mean about that is just the fervency, and people are just going fanatical over this thing. I'm sure you've noticed it even in the churches with all the false prophecies going around and the date setting and everything that's going on, and folks thinking it's going to be the end of the world, and the world just goes insane. But mainly I want to hone in on the aspect of what the reaction of the world is to this eclipse today. And I want to give my 2 cents about why I think they're going crazy over this thing. So as you can see, maybe there, the sun is right up there above me. I don't even see the moon in sight, so I don't know where it's going to come from to intersect. Typically, you can see the moon during the day when it's out. I don't see it at all. So I'm not sure where the moon is going to be crossing or where it's even at right now. I guess it's just going to magically appear over the sun. But I want to speak a little bit, and I'll get right down to it here, folks. I know I like to beat around the bush oftentimes, but I want to look at this from a mythological aspect, and also from the aspect of a spiritual aspect. Well, I guess mythologically that would be spiritually as well. But folks, you know that we're living in a day and an age where the feminine is being elevated and the masculinity is being attacked. A lot of times, you know, you hear it in today's culture, you hear it referred to as toxic masculinity. And you see men becoming more effeminate and women becoming more masculine, or women wanting to take that lead and wanting to take that role. Feminism is on the rise, of course, militant feminism, and it's everywhere. And it's not just that women want to be equal with men, but they want to be superior to men, and they're not happy with any other results. But you hear about the divine feminine, and you see it even in church movements, folks, where you've got women that are pastoring from up in the pulpit, and women prophetesses, and women in deliverance ministries, and women that are leading the men, as Paul instructed that was not permissible, that he did not permit a woman to speak in church, and that a woman should keep silence, that women were not permitted to teach or usurp authority over the man, as the scripture says, because Eve was first in the deception. Eve was the one that was deceived, and thus being in the transgression. So Eve was deceived. Adam wasn't deceived. He ate willingly, but he was rebellious, of course. But Eve was deceived by the serpent, and I believe the same thing is happening today. Satan is at work in this world, and he is deceiving the women. And the men have become effeminate, and they're just on standby mode. They're not protecting their wives, not protecting their women. I was watching a video this morning by Revealing Truth on YouTube, and he was exposing some false prophet on the Sid Roth show. And you know what I noticed is they pan out in the crowd on the Sid Roth show. Sid Roth is nothing but a charlatan. And anybody on that show is nobody but a charlatan. False teachers, false prophets, they're in it for the money, they're in it for the sales. They're habitual liars. And you look out in the audience and all you see basically is women. And I'm like, where are the men at? There's some men out there, but I'm sure they're effeminate. Very few. They were mostly women. Satan is getting at the women. And the divine feminine is on the rise. You see it in the homosexuality, the LGBT movement, and the androgynous aspect today. I mean, you look at Baphomet, who was male and female, the androgynous aspect of it, and you see it in today's society. The transgender movement, androgyny, it's on the rise. The divine feminine is on the rise. But how does that tie in to this solar eclipse? Well, I'll tell you. What's going to happen today is there's going to be a disk, supposedly the moon, that's moving in front of the sun, and it's going to eclipse the light from the sun. So there you see the world will rejoice. I looked back at some videos from 2017, the total eclipse from Hopkinsville. Somebody was recording, and as the darkness fell and the total eclipse happened and everything went dark, people started cheering. Unbelievable. You know, it's of course, it's a phenomenon. It's something wild to witness. But think about that in a spiritual aspect, folks. This world is rejoicing when the light of Jesus Christ is blotted out. When darkness falls upon the land and upon the people, the world rejoices. And one thing I see about the solar eclipse, and it's hidden right there in plain sight, folks, is the sun, the outer atmosphere, the outer layers of the sun, which will be visible around the disk of the moon, they call the corona, which is Spanish for crown. You know, the coronavirus, or the corona, the drink, it means in Spanish, crown. And what's going to happen is the Greek mythology, the sun god, Apollos, and the moon goddess, think about those aspects. You have a masculine aspect and a divine, a feminine aspect. And it's always kind of been that way with mythology and a lot of paganism. They give a masculine aspect to the sun and a feminine quality to the moon, which the Greeks called Selena. Selena was the moon goddess. And also many equate Artemis to being a moon goddess. But either way, supposedly Selena is fully the moon goddess in Greek mythology. But today what you're going to see is the feminine aspect being crowned with the corona. So the Artemis is going to be crowned by Apollos. Now, I don't believe that garbage. I'm not into Greek mythology, and I don't believe all those pagan things. But folks, there's many in this world that do. And I believe they rejoice in seeing that feminine aspect of the moon being crowned by the sun, the masculine thing, crowning the feminine. It's really just a sign of the day that we're living in, but the world will rejoice. The world will rejoice when darkness falls over the land and over the people. But I tell you, my church fellowship put it on the sign this weekend. I rejoice in that. It said, the Son of God cannot be eclipsed. And that's the truth. You might see the light of the sun, the disk, eclipsed today for a very short time. But the light of Jesus Christ can never be eclipsed. Now there's coming a day when darkness will fall across the land, when the light of this world is pulled out, the church of Jesus Christ, because we are the light of the world as long as we're in the world. But Jesus Christ is coming back for His church. And when He calls us out of here to meet up with Him in the clouds, there's going to be a darkness that's going to fall upon this land. And trust me, folks, the world will not rejoice in that day. Because the moment we're pulled out of here is the moment that the wrath of God, the great wrath, the great tribulation begins to come upon this earth. Spoken about by the prophet Ezekiel as they get underneath the rocks and they cry out for the rocks to fall upon them and hide them from the face of the one who sits upon the throne. That day's coming. And they won't be rejoicing when the light is no longer in this world. So, just something to think about today, folks. I just felt the need to make a quick video on this. It's something that kind of entered into my mind while I was sitting here thinking about all the ramifications of the eclipse and how they could be spiritually interpreted and how the world might interpret them is really my area of interest, because sometimes we need to step outside and think like the enemy thinks. And what's the world thinking about all this? Why the hoopla over such an occasion? You know, this happens quite often. It's not something that's new. And more than likely, we'll see it happen again in our lifetime. If not here in the U.S., certainly worldwide. And we can tune in on YouTube. We don't have to travel across the nation for 4.5 minutes of darkness. But why the hoopla? I think there's a spiritual ramification to it, and a lot of people just overlook that thing. When people want to have barbecues and get out and drink and party, I know that's going to happen in a lot of places today, all across the U.S., as the light is eclipsed by the darkness. They celebrate. So, God bless y'all. I'm going to just a quick vid. God bless y'all. Have a great day.